The Asus P9 X79 WS workstation motherboard, which I'm currently recording on right now as I speak, and hopefully you're listening. So this is still a machine that I built up over time that I'm still running based upon the X79. Now, I wish it was an X99 because that would be a little bit more current. And from as I understand it, this is a Windows 10 machine. There are ways of getting it up to Windows 11, but I'm pretty sure the X99, with a couple little tweaks, the TP module, it seems to be on the list currently for Windows 11. I'm still on Windows 10. This thing's running good. This is really the first look what I use essentially here at Arch's Garage and the tech variant, because Arch's Garage is my main channel. So just quick backstory, about 6 years ago, I started Arch's Garage with you'll see it in a bit, with the black Asus black motherboard, same chipset. It burned out. I bought this motherboard used, proceeded to upgrade, and meanwhile all kinds of things were happening and drives were burning out and all kinds of stuff. We're going to take a quick look at that. So over the past few years, I've been upgrading this, and I figured this is current me. We'll take a look at past me, August and September of 2021. And building this thing up, and that will go back that far, and we'll start there about some of the stuff I was doing, and in particular, this is when I start using the PCIe Riser Boards to put M.2 drives on. That was really the key, and because I had drives burning out and a lot of things going on, we'll show all that going forward. But as soon as I started to go to the faster drives, things really started to get a lot better. And so I still have had more recently issues with drives and with other things. We'll get to all of that in subsequent videos. Again, this is a first look at my workstation, my video editor, my daily driver. And for those of you that want to save a few bucks, they're still around. Like these, you could still get all of this stuff. We have a lot more coming on this motherboard. So right now, it's about as capable as it will ever be. And eventually, yes, I will go, well, I was planning on, like a lot of us, I was planning on, buying a new system. And I don't have to tell all of you how expensive everything has gotten and how expensive it will get moving forward into the future. So give this some thought if you're maybe even just an older fellow like me and you're on a limited income and you're looking to set something up. My original hopes was to build a new system and to sort of relegate this to secondary duty or, making a NAS or something like that out of it. A high-functioning network-attached storage device that could still double up as a backup computer and do a number of other things, a server, so to speak. Let's get started.
Flashback.
It's based around an Intel 4930K E, which is an Ivy Bridge, E for enthusiast. It was a very expensive 6-core back in the day. A little bit of history is it comes from the server chips that they had, and Intel was looking for something to keep up with AMD. And they wanted something better than that. And so they looked at their server chips and they binned them out and they unlocked them and they did a few things to them. They created the X79 chipset. And for those of you that know what I'm talking about, if not, go look it up. Real awesome chipset. I had two motherboards. I had a Black Series Asus, and that one burned out. And this one is an Asus workstation. Awesome motherboard, expansion chip, multiplexer chip on it. Both of them had that. This one actually is faster. This workstation board is actually faster than the Asus Black. These were expensive motherboards, expensive processors. DDR3 RAM, 64 gigs, were pretty high end at the time. We'll walk through the computer to start off with. I've had a lot of failures recently from doing a lot of video work and the heat of the summertime, because I am in the shop and occasionally the AC, but it just gets so hot. It also gets really cold and it gets really dirty in here. So we'll make this something where let me first start off with kind of introducing you to what I have. We'll take a look at the computer. I apologize if the audio is a little messed up. It's still summertime. Actually, we're in September, so it's starting to get a little cooler, but some of this was August, and I had several drive failures. power supply went, you just name it, right? Just things just kept happening. And I think part one, we'll crack it open, take a look inside. I'm going to move a few drives around. We'll do a little bit of testing, and then we're going to start some upgrades. And I think the first upgrade is going to be a really nice drive. I needed at least one good drive to replace all the drives. I went with a Western Digital Gold. That's a nice drive. We can talk about that a little bit. I picked that up as a refurb. It's an authorized refurb. And my buddy Matt Visceral, that shout out to him, he gave me a Western Digital Blue 4 terabyte. Eventually put that in there as a backup to that. And also NVMe drives, okay? I actually updated and upgraded this thing to a pair of NVMe. Now, there's no place to put them on this motherboard, but there are a lot of expansion slots, so we're going to go through kind of like what it's like to have PCI Riser boards and pop them into the computer, and how you can maybe leverage your computer to do something like that as an upgrade. Power supply selection, right? I picked up a 1,000-watt EVGA. I use DaVinci software, and I have a benchmarking tool for that, as well as some older benchmarking tools that we can kind of use and check for stability and see if we can get any speed increase out of it. Got a whole bunch of Samsung Evo SSD drives in there. I got a nice 1070. It's not just video card and CPU and bus speeds. You really need like the whole thing to really kind of speed up your editing processes and not have to wait forever. So let's go to work. Let's get this thing opened up, and let's just start rolling the footage. I'll see you guys in a bit.
End of flashback.
So when I get the other drives in, we're going to figure out which one of these is bad, and then we're going to use that, because these two drives are plugged in, I believe, over here. So we'll sort that out. Let's put this thing back up, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a bit. And the idea is because you don't want your OS on a drive that's non-native, because you'll have to load the drivers when you're trying to install a new OS, and that's just an extra pain in the butt. So we want to get our main drives, all our best stuff, on native, and we'll come back and we'll take care of that later on. Now what I've got here is, this is the Western Digital Lifeguard Diagnostics. And I ran the test on the 4 terabyte after dumping a lot of video files on it for about 15-20 minutes. So it should be hot. It's very hot today. And it passed fine. When I ran it on the 3 terabyte, that was bad. Yeah, it came up errors. And when I was trying to test the, well, I couldn't even get anywhere with anything else, so that other drive. So this is a good way to test these drives. Data Lifeguard. It comes blank, so I initialized the disk, formatted it, quick format, and I'm using a 64K cluster. And that's much better allocation tables for videos, large files, things of that nature. So it does change the dynamic of the drive, and I might get into a little bit more why that is later on. So I'm going to run a couple of tests on just a couple of the other drives, but so far so good. I tested all the other drives, and this one, drive number 5, it's a 2 terabyte. No good. See? Now the SSDs did fine, but there is some kind of communication error. It's got me a bit concerned. But I got it written down. We got to flag it. I got to see what else to do about that. But this one's no good. I got to figure out which one this is. It's one of the 2 terabyters. All right, that's why I'm doing this. Another one down, or definitely this one. A low-level format might do it. Failed test element. Unknown test failure. Smart self did not complete on drive 5. Even though the smart status when it boots comes up okay, when you run a deeper test, this is what's going on. So could be a cable. Best thing to do is take the drive out, make sure everything's backed up off of it, and then test it in my dock. We're going to pair up these 2 SSD M.2 NvMe drives. This is the 1 terabyte, this is the 500 gig. And this will be where we do a lot of the video edit. You know, I'm a bit of a techie, but I don't buy stuff that often anymore because it's too expensive. And, you know, if you have good stuff, you know, about the size of a stick of gum, it lasts you a long time. Now, those drives that I've been showing you, they lasted me a long time. 7 to 10 years is a nice amount of time. You might want, you know, an ESD bracelet or something, but generally speaking, it's not necessary. Just touch something grounded if you can. I don't know if I have anything here. They get a heat sink that goes on. Now, I don't think you can take this off, and this is really where all of your info is, and I wish that they didn't put that on here, right? Because you really don't want it on this side. I don't know if you can take it off or whatever, but this gives you all your information on it, and you really don't want that in the way. But for warranty purposes, we may have to leave it on. Yeah. Comes with a little screwdriver, a little micro screwdriver. I think we'll use one of these plastic containers to put some stuff in. It comes with a heatsink. Now, heatsinks do make a difference on these things. If your motherboard supports this, great, okay? But from what I understand, the heatsinks definitely help. They're indexed. They have one index. There's only one way to put it. And it doesn't go in very far. You just got to get it in there enough to get to this screw. There it goes. See? It's good that it's tight. So alcohol will work too. I'm going to use a little brake cleaner, a clean towel. I'm just going to remove any grease because I could see this fingerprints or something. Probably Chinese fingerprint. That's where it comes from. So let's try this thinner one. Now don't worry, it doesn't really stick all that good. You can always adjust it. Let's put this towards the center. As logic would have it, right? It seems to be this is what they want us to do. I've never done one before. This is the first time. I've done some research on these. I've never seen anybody actually do this. So maybe there's better ones out there, guys. But these were like, the one was $16, and I'll show you that one. This one was like 10 or 6 or something. It was like really inexpensive for the PCI controller. So we'll spread it out. These are our heat spreaders. And that should do the job. So this is hard putting in there. A little bit, right? Put it in a little bit of an angle because that's the way they go in, okay? Press it down. See, it fits fine. It's not struggling. Okay, it's plenty tight. Now we can snap this in. This one is taller and that one is shorter. So my guess would be is you put it in like this and rotate it until it snaps. Just flex it a little bit. Right? It's so light, like how could it matter? All right, let's take out the next one. So that's one and done. Now this one's a little bit nicer. Customer service card. We actually have screws with this one. Right? Look, we have a whole bunch of cool stuff in here. These are actually steel brackets. Another screwdriver, we'll put that to the side. And you get a product manual. Wow. Dual SSD. So one of them is, these are both SSDs, right? But they're NvMe, right? Which makes them a lot faster. It's another variant. Installation instructions. Remove the protective film on both sides of the heat conductive silica gel. I don't know what it's going to do. I have two sticky sides on there. But you don't want that plastic film in the way, I could tell you that. All right, so, and one of them was thick and one of them was thin. Now on this guy, right, one is for the second SSD, so we're not, just do it like that. So let's pull this off. All right, now we can mount this to here. Nice, because you could do low profile and standard. So we'll be using the standard. We'll put that away. And look, the screws are already installed. Totally different, right? Different setup. So one's an M key and the other one is a B key. All right, and you're going to see the difference. So we only need one of those screws. Well, let's grab this. This is the bigger 1 terabyte. And notice it can't go in there. All right, so it goes in there. I'm going to move it forward just out of the way of the screw and just out of the way of the contacts. Let's get our hold downs. Mount that right so that it's right over the processor, the chip that's there. Yeah, that's like pretty much dead center. That looks good. Okay, so we're going in this one. Slight angle. Now, this is for a different length. Let's take one out. They mounted it to the board. That's what's going on. So slip it in there, right? It's got a little slot in it. Put the screw back. One's made in Korea, one's made in China. Okay, that's in. And we'll put this screw in here. This screw doesn't do anything really, but we'll keep it here. All right, because the clip actually, it's got a clip, a little groove cut in that little ferrule. Okay, so it can take an even longer one. Now I don't know all the differences between them. So what's the difference? Okay, so this is an NVMe. It's an M.2 NVMe. This is the new technology. It's much, much faster. What goes in here is essentially the guts of what's inside of like a laptop drive, like a 2.5 SSD drive. They're the ones that get you about 500 megabytes per second. These things are 3,000 higher, right? Depending. This is I'm running with Gen 3 because that's what I have. You can use Gen 4 and a Gen 3, but they're a lot more money. So I'm pretty sure one of them is Gen 4, one of them is Gen 3. I think this one is actually Gen 4, this chip here, right? But I will stand corrected on that. Let's see. This is 3,500 megabits per second. NvMe M.2 SSD 980. So why this? Okay, so this plugs into here, right? And that connects your drive, your SSD drive, right, to this cable, and then the other end of the cable is going to have to go into a SATA port, whatever SATA port you have, whether it's 3 gigabit per second or 6 gigabit per second, right? So they give you that cable. And the power for the drive comes from the PCI circuit, right? So you don't have to add a power connector from your your power supply, right? So we're done here, right, with this one. Now we want to put on, this one's nice, right? This is a better manufacturer. We got to put this bracket on. They give us a couple of different screws to do it with. Much nicer design, this one. So this one's done, okay, and that gives me a little bit of expandability. You would think that some of these drives would be getting cheaper. I think occasionally, yeah, you can find some cheaper ones. Gives me a little expandability, and also for $16, right, this is actually constructed better to whatever degree, and this can take a longer card. This only does this style, right? This is the bottom pack. And this is the drive, right, verified. So this is my 3 terabyte drive where most of my files are going to be stored as a backup, green drive, right, as before. This is the 2 terabyte. And this is the one I took out, I believe, is the one giving me problems. 13th of January 2011, right? Now, 64 megabyte cache. Now, we'll test this in the drive dock. Okay, and if it's garbage, it's garbage, but they're old, right? I'm going to put this guy back in now, and then we'll work on the drives themselves. So now I've managed to straighten out my drives and my switches So this is the 4 terabyte gold that's in here. Short cable, right over to the top. These whites are native 6 gigabit per second. So this is a native 6 gigabit per second drive, believe it or not, even though it's not an SSD. And then the OS drive, which is up here, right, I changed the cabling, and that goes to the bottom. So that OS drive is now native. These are native 3 gigabit per second, you know, your standard SATA drives, old school. And this is a part, again, like I mentioned earlier, this SSD caching. That's a feature I don't use, but they are 6 gigabit. There's 2 ports. They run off of this multiplexer. They're not native. So those are running these 2 drives now, and I changed the cabling a little bit. So we're all good there. Remove the drive down here. These are standard SATA regular cables, right? It's the last 2 switches in order, okay? 2 terabyte, 3 terabyte. All right, so now I'm going to remove these 2 guys here, and we'll see what fits where, okay? And these are the ports that we're going to be using. This is a native 16X blue right there, right? It's where you would put your video card. Now I had an XFI in there at one point, and it worked very well. In fact, I still have room for it if I ever wanted to put it back. This one fits a little wonky. You know, the mechanical part of these things isn't all that great. So this is in a native 8X, I believe, okay? And then the whites, the next native 8X is down here, so we don't want that one. It's too close to, we could use it, but it's too close to this fan. So there's a lot of spacing, and that white one is a 8X non-native, again, running off the multiplexer, right? So let's give this a shot. Let's put it back in. Everything is ready. We just have to put this guy back. This is USB 2.0 extension. And we put that back, and I got to put the power to the video card back, and then we'll lock it in. We'll see what happens. So let me get you out of here on this. As you can see here, I also had retired an IBM Desk Star. So I've been building computers and noodling around with them, and we used to repair them and, you know, sell them. So a lot of this stuff had been sitting around. I'm like, well, I could use it, right? Well, hard use and hard living, right, for my computer out here, kept burning out drives, and even more recently too, I've had some issues. So new drives have come and been installed and been moved around, and I've got my old game server over here, which I bought back from a friend of mine. So all that will be coming up on the channel, and we're going to continue. I'll show you some more of the upgrades coming up on subsequent videos to this thing, where I iron out power supply, more drives, retiring of the older drives, some of which are still in here, relegated to, you know, sort of more backup duties, and just upgrading this thing even more up to the point it is now. As I said in the intro, I would like to make some kind of a server out, especially now that I have a 12-core processor in it. When it renders a video, 4K video, it does it about 1-to-1. So if it's a 30-minute video, it might take about 30 minutes to render out a 4K. In terms of an HD, it does it in like half the time, because that's about half the size of a 4K. A lot of stuff is in 4K of mine, but I also record a lot of things in, you know, a standard 1080p. And the bigger difference is in the feed rate, the data feed rate, from 50 megabit transfer units on my somewhat cheaper A6000 to the thing that I'm running right now, which is about 100 megabit transfer units. So that's a clear image. There's a lot more data, and it's twice the data. And over time, you know, I've learned how to use DaVinci and use it in such a way that I can still get good effects, or a good effect out of it. It works well for what I do, but I definitely need to upgrade in the future. So stay tuned for some more videos on this thing, and also some more shop tech, you know, wise tech style videos for this channel. This is my secondary channel that's pretty new, and this is definitely one of the early videos on my new channel, my tech channel, the stuff I can't put on my other channel. I'll see you guys next time.